Clare Maxwell is a former professional dancer and choreographer who performed and taught internationally and across the United States for many years. Clare is nationally certified by the American Society for the Alexander Technique and the International Somatic Movement Education and Therapy Association as a teacher, and she works with people from all walks of life to help them and teach them how to move without pain. So welcome, Clare. It's a pleasure to have you here today, and I turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Jeff. And I'm just going to have to get over my feelings of grief that the Rubin Museum is closing. I didn't know that. Oh my goodness, I better get myself over there. And too bad I'm not 65 yet, but I'm getting close. So yeah, so I'm Clare, and I'm just really glad I get to share my work with this particular community. Um, I have been teaching the Alexander technique and movement for over 24 years now, but I taught dance for about 20 years before that. So I've been dancing and moving a long time. And some of my favorite students are folks who are over 50. And they and I have been amazed by what they can do in their bodies if they learn to let go of some of the restricting ideas that they learned as young people about posture and movement and what we're supposed to do. So I hope that today's class will, if you haven't had that kind of experience before, give you access to a conversation with your own body that is like being a dancer, and that you'll take that with you, a new way of conversing with your own body. I was just joking with a friend that we need to have a body language immersion school. You know how they have like language immersion? You really can't learn a language like in a day, you know? You need to go and just be surrounded by the language. So that's what I try to provide in my dance classes. They're open to all. I have some people that are older dancers. I have some people that have no dance training at all, but that's this part of the work that I do is for them. So as I said, it's the work I'm going to share with you is kind of distilled from these two disciplines, dance and Alexander technique. It's not going to be a beginning lecture on Alexander technique. You can get that elsewhere. Alexander technique is about how you move and how you organize your postural system before you move, and it improves movement. And then dance, there's so many different forms of movement. So they're really two different things. And what I have attempted to do is put them together in an easy and fun, playful way. So you don't have to go to some heavy dance technique class to experience nuanced mobility and the pleasure in movement that dancers feel. So halfway through my dance career, I made a kind of a 180-degree turn. I was going towards virtuosity and technical prowess, and I was shredding my body in the process. And I'm just wondering if there's anybody here. I see we've got like about 8 people. If there's anybody here who's had an experience of trying to get fit or trying to move and then getting injured, or pushing too hard and not really knowing how to take care of yourself as you're trying to get fit. Is there anybody here? I see Jeff nodding. If you don't want to be on camera, you can just kind of raise your virtual hand if you've ever had injuries or anything like that. So it looks like at least one person has. And so that can scare you off of trying to move. And I would really love to give you a little bit more courage in staying mobile and staying free in your body. Okay, what else do I have to say? Yeah, All right. So let's just kind of get down to business. I've got two sets of material. So I am going to treat you as if you were dancers. And so dancers like to experiment, and the two sets of material are going to help you do that. The first one I call awareness preludes. So an awareness prelude is intended to help you realize that there are many different ways to pay attention to your physical experience. So a lot of us, we just kind of walk around in one mode of paying attention, and we don't realize that there's a lot more choices available. So I'm going to show you a series of those. And then once we kind of do what I call an awareness stretch, I'm going to give you some what I call mobile body alignment points, which are places on your body, very specific places on your body that help get you moving. So as I start talking, I'm going to invite you to start experimenting and moving a little bit. And because the instructions I'm going to give you are really different than an average dance class, there's no right way to follow them. So just let the words wash over you, and trust your own creativity in terms of how you interpret them. That's part of the pleasure of the experience, is that you get to be a little daring and creative in how you interpret things. Okay, so if questions arise, well, let's see. I'm reading a text because I tend to wander off script. Yeah, take what feels good, follow your own intuition in listening to my guidance, and especially in terms of what's good for your body. Rest assured that there's no correct way to interpret my instructions. And if you have questions, we'll have little breaks where you might be able to ask them. But I will save some time at the end of class to go into your questions more. So don't worry about that. We'll make some time. Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to share my screen here. Go back to the beginning. So this is just the name of my practice. I work with people individually, and then I also teach these group classes, and I coach people in how to be authentic and free in their bodies. And these are my awareness preludes. So right now, your awareness might be on the screen. You might be kind of focused on the screen, but it's designed to be fluid. So if you decide not to focus, you can let your attention wander. So just try that right now. And part of the wandering might be getting a little bit more comfortable in your chair. Yeah, a little bit more free. And as we start moving more, you're welcome to get up out of your chair. If you're challenged for balance, but you'd like to try moving, you can always just keep a hand on a chair and use that. It's very helpful for your vestibular system just to have another point of contact. And so as you explore fluid awareness, you might notice that your body feels a little bit more fluid, and you're allowed to move as you're listening to my words. You don't have to zoom in on the screen. So this is one awareness prelude. It's actually one of my favorite ones because I realized when my attention is fixed, that my body gets fixed. And it actually doesn't feel good. So the second one is very simple, that you can let your awareness rest. You can let it settle. And if you even, you're coming, it's like the end of the day, you're coming into this experience, you could just close your eyes and let your attention rest. It's very simple, but very important. If our nervous system is always being kind of pushed into activity or jazzed up and it never gets to settle, like a bird. I was just watching the birds on the pier. Somebody walks by and they all jump up into the air, but then they settle back down and rest. The third one is really interesting. It's called open focus. So without even having to know what that means, just see how your intelligence, how you interpret that, before I give you too much information. So open focus includes the sensation of your body. It includes everything that you see, everything that you're hearing, and you're just making a choice to not center any one particular thing. So it's very inclusive and kind of soft and open. That's a lot. So I actually want to stop and make a space for any questions. And I'd like to find out if this is affecting your body to shift your attention. Anybody have the courage to say what they're experiencing?
So
That's a little
far, I'm
scary.
slightly loosening up.
Mm-hmm.
And I also feel like I'm like expanding my field of vision rather than focusing on one point. So I feel kind of like like an expansiveness.
Wonderful. Expansiveness. Yeah. So this slight loosening of your body, I want you to get curious about that. And then we'll go into the fourth one, which is called your easeometer. And so when you soften your attention towards your body, so we were just really opening our awareness. Now you can soften your attention towards your body and get curious about where there might be a little bit of ease. So when we kind of soften towards our body, we feel all kinds of things. And tension or discomfort tend to kind of stand out. But sometimes there's a little bit of ease somewhere. And so this question, if you feel a little bit of ease somewhere, for me, I don't know why, but I feel it kind of in my inside thighs. Let that move. Let that part of your body move a little bit so that ease translates into movement. And it might not move you in space, it might just move you in your chair. So you're linking up this sense of maybe just a little bit more ease in your body as a source of beginning to shift and move. If you're in your chair, You might just experiment with shifting your weight to one side and the other in your chair. But the only reason to move is to feel a little bit of ease. That's the only reason to move. So there's no big demand on your system. And then you can bring your attention in to rest again. So movement's very stimulating in our system. And now you're going to start all over again. So it's completely fresh. And you ask this question again, where now, in this moment, this new moment, is there a little bit of ease? You're not saying ease should be here or there. You're not telling it where it should be. You're just finding out, oh, I've got a little bit in my toes. That's where it appeared for me. I don't know where it'll appear for you. And if you don't find any yet, don't worry about it. You can just let that moment pass and ask the question afresh in a new moment, where now do I feel a little bit of ease? And for me, the part of my body that I feel it in is kind of difficult to name, but it's kind of around my mouth, a little bit around my mouth. Feels good to just let this part of my face kind of move a little bit. And if you don't have your camera on, you don't have to worry about what you look like. I'm not going to worry about what I look like. And then one more time. So you start all over afresh. And this means you can really begin to take in your whole body from the top of your head, your shoulders, your torso, your ribs, your legs, your feet, and just see where's the easiest place right now. For me, I discovered it was my knees. And so as you discover a little bit of ease, carry it into movement. So we're going to move for 10 counts. 1, 2, could just be a simple movement. 3, for me, it's walking. 4, a pedestrian movement. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And as you stop moving, as you bring your attention to rest again, just see if you become fixed or if you can stay a little bit tuned to this easeometer. I'm going to keep admitting people. And then ask the question again, where now that I've been moving a little bit, do I feel a little bit of ease? And I'm feeling it a little bit in my armpits. And so I'm going to carry this into movement for another 10 counts. And it could just be the simplest kind of movement, a stretching. 2, 3, 4, just a little drop to the left or right. 5, 6, 7. I'm going to mute somebody. 8, 9, 10. And then bringing your attention to rest. So what's so nice is that as you bring your attention to rest, you don't have to get tighter or stiffer in order to stop moving. You can stay in an easy state. Okay, so I'm going to come back to the screen and just share a few more things with you before we really get moving, but we're just getting you warmed up now. Okay. So we did easometer, we did softening in towards my body. The other three are expanding out away from my body. And that doesn't even have to be movement. It could just be, there's something called parapersonal space. So if you bring your hands, if you stretch your hands out like this, that's what scientists call parapersonal space. And it's just kind of the hemisphere that your body exists in. And when somebody enters this space, you definitely notice it. It can feel a little bit like a boundary thing, you know? So if you just extend your awareness out into space, as far as your hands could go, you know, that's can be quite helpful in terms of moving around your room. But as you move, as you walk, experiment with letting your attention go even further away, out to the walls or outside the window as you're moving. And then you can let your attention soften back towards yourself. And so all of this is just incredibly, to me, pleasurable when I'm moving. And so when you bring your attention back to yourself now, whether you're still in a chair or whether you've gotten up and started moving around your space, if you soften your attention towards yourself, you can do a tiny little folding of your joints. So it's like a folding of the ankles, knees, hips, elbows, shoulders, and even your spine. So your body follows your attention. Your spine can just soften into a little curve. And then you can let your attention open up. And if you wish, you can open your body to follow your attention, but there's no strain. There's no reason to push or make a feeling of a body or a muscle stretching in any big way. It's just an expansion. And then you can bring your attention to soften towards your center again and bring your feet in. So attention opening up and out past your parapersonal space, and your system is able to feel space and know the space behind you, even if you don't see it. So you can try turning around in your room, kind of being more aware of the back space and the back body. And then you can move around your room being more aware of your front body. So that's where our eyes are. We're usually much more aware of what's in front of us, but we are also able to know what's behind us. So try a little bit of moving. I'm going to take my sweater off because I'm getting warm. Into the back space. Into the back space. Moving backwards. But it can be very small and subtle. Nothing that causes you to lose your ease. And then finally, there's 360 degrees around you. So I didn't do up and down, up and down. That's obvious. Awareness of down, awareness of what's above you. Yep. And then awareness of kind of horizontally 360 degrees around you. Yeah. So those are all of my awareness preludes. And I think it would be good to give us a chance just to explore moving with these preludes to a little bit of music before I go on to the next part. So let's keep our score simple. You've got moving through space. I'm assuming everybody can move through space, but I can't see you. Is there anybody who's not mobile for walking or moving through their space? Just raise your electronic hand and let me know. Okay, good. So we can walk, we can stop. We can open our attention, we can soften our attention towards our center. We can wait and rest until we feel some ease, and then move from ease. Is that too many things, Jeff? Can you remember that, do you think? You can remember it? Okay, great. So here goes
I say
some
just
music.
prompt me a little bit.
Yes, I'll give you some verbal cues. And we'll have some music. Yeah. So finding a place of ease in your body somewhere. And letting the ease, so for me, it was my sternum. And so I'm just moving to find out about that ease. It could be very quiet. A little bow. And if you want to take my place of ease, you can steal mine. Sternum. And so it can do little, very small movements. Or it could move in your space. Forwards and backwards.
For the first time ever, the kid beat from up.
You could lower your sternum in space. You could let it kind of rise up, move into the up just a little bit, or soften into the down just a little bit. And you could play with the tempo. And anytime you feel that you've lost your ease, just come to rest. And you can also just let your attention itself wander around your room. Fluid attention. Going towards your own body. You could feel into your own body and then let your attention flow out into your room again. Into your own body, just feeling your joints and your muscles. and then out into your room again. You can let your attention go way outside your house and then come back into your body. And as you begin to move, maybe it's easier to have a soft, easy movement that's a little faster. So you can play with tempo or speed without having to make the movement big or difficult. And anytime you want to, you can come to rest. And then sourcing ease again. And ease that starts in your hand, for instance, can travel through your arm and get bigger. Or an ease that starts in your foot can travel up your leg into your hips. Even the quality of your step, the way your foot touches the ground, how easy could that be? So keep moving now. Give yourself the instruction to just keep moving, and you don't have to follow my instructions at all. You can just move to follow your own ease. Your body knows what it needs to do right now. And anytime you run into a little bit of difficulty, you can just stop and rest. Find a little bit of ease somewhere and use that to generate your next movement. It might surprise you. Awareness out, away from your body, and in towards the center of your body. So you can begin to move parts of your body out into the space that's around you. Just a gentle experiment of a hand or a foot into all the nooks and crannies of your own apartment. Above your body, below your body. And you can just wake up the space behind your body. And you can even go down to the ground, to the floor, if you're able. And just rest your back body on the ground and feel the down behind you. If you're in a chair, the down is under you and the up is above you. So you can reach certain parts of your body into the up and let other parts of your body drop into the down. And we'll end this part of the experiment in 10 counts. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. and find an ending for yourself. And if you'd like to come back to the screen, that's fine. So I hope that that was at least a little bit challenging you to go past what your judgmental mind says you should be doing with movement. Sometimes there's like a little bit of embarrassment, about movement. And my favorite part of a dance class, especially if there's improvisation, is the part where you decide you're going to dance and move past that judgmental voice that says, oh, you shouldn't be moving like that. That doesn't look good. Because what we want is for it to feel good. So would anybody like to share an experience with that before I go on or ask a question? I know it's all a bit vague, but now we're going to get... Hey, Pat.
Hey, I forgot your name is Claire?
Yes, Clare Maxwell.
Claire, nice to meet you, Claire. I appreciate what you're saying. I do these face exercises when I'm on the train, and I wonder if anybody's looking at me, just so that I can keep my smile. And then I do these back exercises where I have to bend backwards and look up at the sky while I'm waiting for the train. And I've dabbled in yoga, and I know that I might look strange when I'm doing it, but the way you described it, I just feel it makes a lot of sense for me because I'm 64. I've never had this chronic back pain like I had before. And I do the Mackenzie method, but I also do yoga because it's yoga is so different, but yoga is getting a little bit harder for me to do, or I don't want to do it anymore. And just to be able to move around, put a little music on, and maybe do a little extra movement, it really makes sense. I appreciate what you're saying. Thank you.
I appreciate what you're saying, Pat. And I think that you might find, I would suggest, and it sounds like you're an experimenter, that you take one of these awareness preludes, or even just the idea that you could put on some music and just move to make your body feel good. That if you did that for maybe 10 minutes before you did yoga, that you might actually be in a lot better place to do some of the more challenging movements.
Thank you. Thank you.
Particularly this easeometer practice.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Yes. So if you do 4 counts of ease the way I just did, I wonder where there's a little bit of ease. And you wait. This is a conversation with your body. You wait until you feel something. And you might need to do more than 4 counts if you're having a particularly difficult day. But as soon as you start to feel ease, whatever you focus your nervous system on, you are amplifying. And so if you spend 5 minutes or even 3 minutes amplifying ease in your system, and then move from there, you're going to be in a much safer state in your nervous system. So I hope that's helpful. Thank you for the question and the comment. Any other questions? Okay.
Felt kind of fun and relaxing to lie on the floor and move around on the floor, because that's not something I ordinarily do. I'm usually sitting on a chair or walking around. So it's a whole new experience.
It is. And please do not underestimate the benefits of navigating your way down to the ground, even if you need time to do it. Because I don't know if anybody saw, there was an article in the New York Times about the benefits of lying on the floor, which I thought was hysterical because it's a big practice in the Alexander technique. The simple act of your taking your vestibular system, which is inside your skull, and just shifting the balance, stimulating your vestibular system. It's necessary to do that to go down to the ground and get back up again. I should probably do a whole class just on that, because the stimulation of your vestibular system is so beneficial. It stimulates all kinds of chemicals, good chemicals that help you learn and stay adaptable and have adaptable balance and posture. All you need to do is stimulate your vestibular system a little bit. And the floor is a great place to do that because you're so secure. It can be very difficult to let your head move freely on the top of your spine when you're scared of falling over. But when you're on the ground, you can really release a lot of tension in your head and neck and spine area. So awesome. It's an awesome practice. And if you want to explore it more in the rest of the class, please do. Yeah, anything else? It helps me to know where to go next. So I got to find where I am in my little presentation here. Okay, so mobile body alignment points are places on your body that correspond to important bony landmarks within a specific dermatome, which is just a big fancy name for an area of skin that is innervated by a particular nerve. And there are 12 cranial nerves, and then there's, I can't even remember how many spinal nerves there are. I think there's 33, and they're in pairs, and they control your muscles, but they also supply the sensation from your skin, as well as motor control of the muscles underneath your skin. I have found bringing awareness and sensation to my skin to be very beneficial in terms of expanding what's called your body schema. So your body schema is your brain's image of your body. And your body schema, like so many parts of your brain, is plastic. So for instance, right now, if you just gently brush the skin of your arms and you make sure that you brush all around the circumference of your arms and your hands, what you've just done has really brought circulation and stimulation to the area of your brain that represents your arms. So that if you now go to make a movement, you are waking up more of your entire nervous system. So the skin is really amazing and important. And the more contact that you get in all the different surfaces of your body, the healthier your nervous system is. So even right now, if you move a little bit in your clothes, you'll realize that you can feel the entire circumference of your body inside your clothes because your skin is so sensitive. Okay, so the points follow the sequence from top to bottom of all of these nerves. And so if you move from these points and you wake up these points, you're actually stimulating your whole central nervous system in a very complete way. And this is so important because certain parts of our bodies tend to get underutilized. and then they get kind of erased in our brain, and then they lose circulation, and then they get unhealthy. So you do not have to be able to be an athlete to keep your body healthy and awake and alive. You can move through it with your mind. It's the most amazing thing. Okay, so here's what a dermatome looks like. Don't worry about trying to memorize these or anything, but the cervical nerves are the orange part of the arm. So those nerves emerge from your brain, your spinal cord, and the green ones emerge from your thoracic spine, where your ribs are. The lumbar nerves come from kind of, if you were a horse, where you would wear a saddle. You could even just, as you're sitting in your chair, just brush down from the back of your haunches. I'll try to get here. I'm going to make myself bigger here for a second. From the back of your haunches here, if you kind of go around to the front of your thigh, and if you can't get any further than this, don't worry about it, just to the top of your shin, but the actual skin goes across the top of your foot, under your foot, and to the back of your heel. I mean, that's a really big stretch of nerves there. And then the last dermatome is your sacral one, and that's the whole pelvic floor, which there's a lot of information now that we really need to keep our pelvic floor awake and alive. And that skin goes down the back of your leg. So you can kind of touch the skin. Sometimes you can touch the skin of the back of your leg, and it goes down the back of your leg. And interestingly enough, it goes underneath the sole of your foot, and it ends right here at your big toe. So I'm going to show you some things about that. So I have found it very helpful to learn these parts of anatomy that are kind of not taught to the general public. We learn bones and muscles, but we don't learn the nerves. So this is a picture of your head, and there are 3 dermatomes on your head, and I'll tell you why it's important in a second. But just take your fingertips and start at the tip of your nose and just follow the yellow. So you just kind of brush, yeah, to the back of your skull. It's not specific. It's like there's some overlap. These aren't like really specific, accurate maps. They're just kind of general maps. So this is one branch of your dermatome for your head. And then there's another one. So if you put your hands on your lower lip and you just kind of brush your cheek up to the side of your eyes. Brush your cheek up to the side of your eyes. It's very interesting. There are 3 branches to this nerve. It's called the trigeminal nerve. And then the last branch of it is your jaw, which is a separate but connected part of your head. So you start on the lower lip and really touch the skin. It goes up to the ear cartilage. There's a little flap there. And if you open your jaw, but it also goes higher up because there's a big giant muscle here on the side of your head. And if you grip your teeth, you can feel that muscle. Yeah, it's hard when you have headset on, right, Jeff? So these 3 different dermatomes for your head. And what I would like to show you is that I've got points for those places. So there are 3 awareness points. 1 for the tip of your nose. 2 for the center of your jaw. And 3 for the back of your skull. So don't worry about it too much. I'm going to show you another picture, and then we're going to move a little bit. We're going to add this into our movement. So the reason I'm giving you these really specific points is because in order for your brain to move your body, it needs really specific focal points. And so here you can see, if you're looking underneath your nose, there's two little bits of cartilage. So this would be right in between the cartilage. And you can just notice that you can actually look away from the screen for a second and know you can see the space that you're in. You can rest in an open focus, and you can't see your nose, but you know exactly where it is. So just experiment now with dipping your nose down a little bit towards the down, and just watch what the rest of your body does. And then bringing your nose back up to what I would call the horizon line. So your gaze and your nose are on the horizon line. And then you can just tip your nose up slightly and watch how your body adjusts. How your body, because this is a big shift of weight and balance, and then bring the tip of your nose back to what you might call the horizon line. And so I think a lot of us aren't really aware of this, but it's a really helpful, it's very central to the middle of your face and the middle of your head. And so if you look over your right shoulder, your nose kind of goes that way and your head starts to turn. And actually, it's quite natural. I'm standing, so it's much easier to move when you're standing. But if you look over a shoulder and you let your nose move, it's quite natural for your body to start to follow that way. And so this is a basic principle of the Alexander technique, that the head leads and the body follows. And that's how we organize movement more easily. So the next mobile body alignment point is the back of your skull. And you can't see this either, but what's amazing is that you can know where it is. You might be able to find it with your fingers. And what you'll notice is that if you tip your nose down, the back of your skull will move. You can feel it kind of moving. You can feel the skin, the sensitive skin over the bone. And if you tip your nose up slightly, don't do too much, but just slightly, you'll feel that that point kind of slides back. And then if you bring your nose back to the midline, well, the back of your skull is also moving. So play around with that a little bit now. Just enjoy. It's like, you know how a kid puts their fingers out the window in the car. Just play moving from the nose point and then seeing, oh, well, so then where did my back of my skull point go in space? Huh. And you can try moving more from the back of the skull point, which is really interesting, or moving more from your nose. The nose is pretty mobile, right? So it can move in space quite a bit. Yeah. And then last but not least, so remember there were three dermatomes for your face. So your nose was one, and actually the back of your skull is a different nerve. That's a cervical nerve. So these are really different nerves, and yet they all get glommed together and we're just like one big lump, you know? So this is a separate nerve from this. And now we've got our jaw. So interesting. So the chin or jaw point is right in the middle. This is actually looking at your, as if you were looking at your skull from behind. But I also have a picture that shows a different angle. So this is a really interesting point because although your jaw is part of your head, it's not fixed. So you can actually move your jaw. Yeah, move your jaw a little separately. And you might notice these might seem like very small movements, but if you tip your nose down, your jaw actually slides forward. Unless you're gripping your teeth together with that big muscle. But if you're not, there's a sliding motion in your jaw that makes balancing much easier. If you tip your head over to one side, your jaw kind of slides to that side. And when you come up, it trues itself and then it kind of slides over to the other side. So the main message or the reason I chose these points and that I'm so specific about them is because I want people to know that they can be mobile in relationship to each other. So that was the first 3 points. Any questions about that? Any observations, challenges? To tip your head back can be quite difficult sometimes because it can crunch your neck. So that's a big topic we could talk about, but okay.
I personally found it subtle and nuanced, how things
It is
moved.
subtle. It's subtle and nuanced, yes. Here's the thing. Your head weighs about 15 pounds. So any subtle, nuanced movement of your head is going to have massive ramifications for the rest of your body. So let's just try a movement in the chair that will give you a chance to maybe just experience how these points, how these parts of your body can maybe be a little more mobile than you thought. So if you're able, put your feet, get to an edge-ish of your chair. I hope you're not on a big rolling chair. So you're kind of on the edge of your chair here. And you can rest your hands on your thighs like this or like this. You don't want them too far away because that will challenge your shoulder muscles. So you want it to be nice and easy and balanced. You don't want your feet too far back or too far forward. You want them right under your knees. And so you can begin by seeing if there's any ease anywhere in your body, especially in your spine. So because we were playing with the balance of your head, you may find that your spine got a little stimulated because it had to adjust and work to support your head. So what we're going to do now is we're going to really slowly look down, not too far, maybe to the edge of your room. And just keep noticing where there's ease. So what I notice is that as the weight of my head tips forward, the back of my skull point, as I'm looking a little bit more towards my own feet, the back of my skull point has released up to the sky. And my nose point has moved down towards the ground, and my whole spine has had to soften a little bit into a curve to accommodate that movement. So it wasn't just a movement of my head. And so now I'm looking underneath my chair and I'm just checking out my jaw point, trying to figure out if it's free, ready to balance and move, or if I've gripped my teeth. And now I'm looking underneath my chair. And I'm using my hands to support me so I don't fall off the chair. And I'm looking all the way under. So I'm basically kind of upside down. If you can't go this far, don't worry. Just go as far as really feels good. And here my jaw, the back of my head is now kind of flying towards the wall in front of me. And my nose is going to the wall behind me. And I'm just going to slowly use my legs in my hands to gently return myself to a balanced sitting position. And as I come up, I'm just going to decide, I don't know where my nose point or the back of my skull point is stopping. I'm not going to stop it or fix it. I'm going to just let it keep balancing up there. And so what that means is there's no correct position for your head, but it could just kind of gently be, oh, maybe it could tip a little bit forward, a little bit back. And what you might notice is that if you do that, your pelvis and your ribs also start to move kind of subtly and easily. And so you don't have to be holding yourself up stiff, but there's a very small, subtle wave in your body that's possible. So, so now you can use your nose point, the back of your skull point, or your chin point, and just explore how when you get up out of your chair or you sit back down in your chair, just enjoy kind of tracking where these points are and how they're moving in space. So your nose point, whoa, the back of your skull point and your chin point, and I'll give us a little bit of music and then we'll come back. And you can move as big or as little as you like. I'm not going to talk a lot, but you'll see me moving. And just see how all the other parts of your body help you move your head. So can you let your head go off center a little bit and then come back to vertical? So head to go off center a little and back to vertical. Very gentle. And if you really take your time, you can find a way to go down to the ground following your nose or the back of your skull. And coming up again. And one thing I've discovered is that it's much easier to go down to the ground if you turn your head. So it could be the slightest turn or spiral. Makes it much easier to get up. Okay. So we're kind of getting close to the end time. So I just want to do one more little dance before we finish and show you some of the other mobile body alignment points. So if we keep going. So I'm sure everybody knows what your collarbones are. They are the place where your arms are attached by a bony joint to your torso. Your shoulder blades are just kind of floating in your back. I have a little skeleton I can show to you. So the collarbone points are here on the inside part. There's a little bump that you can feel right on top of your sternum. And so that's the collarbone points. The ulna is this bony part of your arm. It's the part that sticks out the most, and it's actually a lower arm bone. So if you move it, you'll find that it's a lower arm bone. And it's a very movable point. If you touch here on either side, you'll feel two bumps. That's your upper arm, and your lower arm is separate. So that's a super important joint. And then the last point is for your shoulder blades in your back. So shoulder blades are like a triangle, and my awareness point is at the bottom of the triangle. So I'll show you pictures. So here is your sternum. There's a little cartilage at this joint. You can see the sternum kind of splits and it kind of branches out to support. The top rib is underneath this bone. And then there's the collarbone, and there's a little bump of the collarbone that's outside the joint space. So it's quite free, and there's a lot of movement there. And then we've got your ulna. You can see the picture, your ulna, and your shoulder blades in the back. So any questions about those points? When we go into our last little dance, I just want to return back actually one more time, sorry, to the dermatome. So in moving this way, we will have woken up these three nerves for your head. Super important. Trigeminal nerve, it's the action of chewing, and sensation for your whole face, your eyes, your nose, your cheeks. and your jaw. Oops. And the entire top orange part. So the collarbone and the ulna point are in the orange part, and that is all the nerves that come from your neck. So I think often we think of our arms as going with our torso, but they actually the nerves come from our neck area. And then the shoulder blades down in your back are coming from deeper, the nerves for that come way deeper down in your thoracic spine. And I've got mobile body alignment points for each dermatome, and when we dance in class, we wake them all up all together. Okay, so let's just do one last dance. I think we need something a little bit peppier. So, how's that sound, Jeff? Can you still hear my voice? Okay. I'm going to start in my chair because I'm going to assume that some of you are in your chairs also. So we have so many things to play with. You can just soften your attention towards yourself and let your body begin to respond to the rhythm of the music. And your collarbones. So maybe you could put your nose together. There's no right way to move with your collarbones. And begin to investigate. And you can let your whole arm move. So maybe add in your hands and your collarbone points. So when your hand moves, your collarbone point moves. And your nose. And you could turn your collarbone points. You can turn them one way, turn them the other way. They could go out a way, they could come back. They might take you down. Or up, up, up. Anything can be such a simple dance. Up and down. And so if your movement takes you out of the chair, fine, but just keep moving. And now add in your shoulder blades. Moving them in space. They could circle around and around. They could go up and down. If you're dancing with a chair, you can say a lot with your shoulder blades. So collarbone, shoulder blades, all of that's very close to your body. Now, how about your ulna? How about your ulna? So if you start to move your ulna, whoa, that really. And it really just give yourself that simple instruction that this little bone could move in space. It could have ease. It could have softness. All of them can move together. And then you can just let go, and anything that you are discovering, forget about all of my prompts and just dance. Just dance to the music. You've done lots of warm-ups. So just trust your body a little bit. Trust the ease. Go down to the floor. Just dancing all throughout your space. Somebody rang my bell. We have a visitor. Or maybe something very small. So now we're going to bring it smaller. Remember ease. So little gentle movements. Shaking movements. And as you make your movements smaller and smaller, find a resting place. Just close your eyes. And let the movement get smaller and smaller. And see how you can continue to allow movement and ease without having to stiffen or push And so as you come back to just your normal, regular self, you don't have to maybe go all the way back to your normal, regular self. Yeah, maybe you can be a little softer, a little more fluid. Hold on just 1 second. I'm so sorry, Jeff. I'll be right there.
No problem. And in the meantime, while Claire is at the door, I am going to paste into the chat some resources provided by Claire, and also the link to the free class. And I will also email that to everyone who registered. I'm trying copy paste. I don't think it's working. All right. The challenging, the posture, narrative, the whole thing didn't go in, so I'm gonna do some separate ones. Okay. Hopefully my mic is on and I'm not talking to myself.
It doesn't like too much information in the chat. Yeah. So as Jeff is doing that, we have a few minutes left. How was that for you? Did that have a positive effect, a negative effect, challenges, joys and delights?
For me, it was playful, but I was also conscious of needing to use what I was taught are these points that I was not aware of before. So I was trying to learn, but also execute at the same time.
Yes, it's a challenge, right? To be moving and then aware of a very specific place in your body. Yeah.
Yes. I guess with time, it gets easier.
It does.
Becomes more natural.
Yes. And this is actually something that you're kind of doing all the time, but I'm making it much more specific than you've ever consciously done before. But if you couldn't do this, if you didn't know where your nose was in space, you wouldn't be able to walk down the street.
So
it's
we're just
you never
not
thought
aware
about
we
it
know.
before. Yeah, it's called spatial awareness, and it's really, really freeing because you are not being told that your body should feel a certain way. You're just being told to be aware of where a certain part of your body is in space. And then as you practice your physical intelligence, there's a certain system called your postural system that's always balancing you in relationship to gravity. And the freer your head is, that nose point and back of the skull point are so important. So when those get stuck to everything else in your body, you cease getting a lot of information from your vestibular system. You still get some, but you don't get as much. So it takes a lot of practice, because if you're not used to having all that whoa kind of vestibular flow feeling, it can be a little disorienting at first, which is why I like to teach this way, that there's no demand on you to do something that's beyond you, that you can work in small little increments. I'm blabbing on and on. Any other questions? Thanks for coming on screen. It's helpful for me to see you, but can we do gallery view for those of us that are, yeah. So I teach a class every Tuesday morning, online, so you can be anywhere. And we work with whoever comes. So anybody is welcome. And we do dance and we do move, but there is no reason for you to do something that doesn't feel right or safe to you. I also teach privately in Manhattan, at a place called Balance Arts Center on 30th Street. I work privately with people. And I do Alexander technique lessons. I help people with mobility, and I work a lot with people pre and post operations, you know, knee replacements, hip replacements, things like that, that are hard to, you get some help from the PT, but sometimes you need a little bit more help recovering your mobility that you had before you had all the pain, because the pain really affects your movement patterns and stuff. So I can really help you improve your movement patterns, and that's what I do.
So
I also wanted to let folks know I have a YouTube channel, and I break things down into little tiny chunks, and I just put several playlists from the YouTube channel in the chat. So if you click on those before we go, you can find those, and if you want to just work on your own, there's lots of material there.
Well, thank you so much, Claire, for teaching this class tonight, and thank you everyone for attending.